Sure. Here's section 1 of the story. We sent a bomb to Earth. They sent it back upgraded. Best HFY stories. Asterisk asterisk. Hashtag section 1. First strike. The bomb from the stars. Backslash 700 plus words. In the cold void between galaxies, power was measured not by how one built, but by how one destroyed. The Karn Dominion had ruled the Orion Arm for over 5 centuries. An alliance of warbred species, engineered for ruthlessness, conquest, and domination, they had purged hundreds of planets in their unrelenting march across the stars. Planets that resisted were vaporized. Those that submitted were stripped of resources and consigned to servitude. To the Karn, this was simply the way of things, efficient, calculated, and inevitable. And then they found Earth. It began like any other planetary survey. Long-range scouts detected unusual electromagnetic emissions from an unclassified G-class star system. One blue-green planet caught their attention: atmospheric radio noise, infrared flashes, and something odd, asterisk asterisk primitive visual transmissions, asterisk asterisk leaking into space. Music, speech, images, loud, chaotic, and inconsistent. Admiral Zerov Kor, commander of the Karn's 17th Expansion Fleet, reviewed the findings. Pre-quantum civilization, he remarked with distaste. Still bound to a single planet, yet screaming into the void like children. He paused, considering the risk. Purge it. No need for ground forces. The decision was made in less than a minute. The weapon chosen for this task was the VX-99, one of the Karn's most fearsome tools of extermination. Unlike orbital strikes or bioviral clouds, the VX-99 was a self-replicating antimatter device programmed to burrow deep into a planet's core. Once activated, it would shatter tectonic stability, ignite the atmosphere, and render the world permanently uninhabitable. It was elegant in its finality. No survivors. No ruins. No memory. The bomb was launched from a stealth carrier just outside the solar system. Traveling at relativistic speeds, invisible to Earth's rudimentary detection systems, it arrived in Earth's orbit within weeks. Not a single alarm was raised on the planet below. Earth, in its blissful ignorance, continued spinning. People argued politics. Lovers danced. Rockets launched into low orbit. A child in Pakistan watched a science fiction movie where aliens invaded New York. The irony would have been amusing if any Karn were watching. As the VX-99 entered the upper layers of Earth's atmosphere, its quantum shielding adapted to re-entry. It slowed slightly, targeting a remote region, the Rocky Mountains, near what humans called Colorado. Deep enough to escape detection. Isolated enough to avoid suspicion. Ideal for planetary erasure. It hit the ground with no more impact than a small meteorite. No explosion. No fanfare. The device activated silently, burrowing beneath the crust, deeper and deeper, positioning itself near a geothermal fault line. And then, nothing. For 10 minutes, Earth remained oblivious. Then an amateur stargazer in Arizona reported a flash. A tiny one. NASA ran models. NORAD picked up the seismic anomaly. Within the hour, multiple space agencies began triangulating the source. Subsurface scans showed something impossible, a massive foreign object embedded deep below the crust, cooling, silent, and impossibly advanced. Governments scrambled. Satellites refocused. The United Nations Security Council entered emergency session for the first time in a decade. Theories ranged from meteor to crashed probe to secret weapons test. Conspiracy forums exploded. Doomsday preachers took to the streets. But the bomb remained inert. In Karn space, Admiral Zerov waited for confirmation of planetary annihilation. When none came, he ordered a scan. Still intact. Still no detonation. Faulty unit? One of his aides asked. Shall we send another? Zerov narrowed his eyes.
No.
Let them wonder. Let them fear their skies. His voice grew sharper. If they find it, they will either destroy themselves trying to understand it or activate it for us. He turned away, unconcerned. One way or another, the outcome is assured. But the Karn had made one crucial miscalculation, something no Karn strategist had ever accounted for. They had assumed humans were either prey or pests. They did not anticipate that, when confronted with the unknown, humans wouldn't run. They'd investigate. They'd poke, pry, experiment, and, against all odds, learn. Within 48 hours, an international scientific team was formed under the codename Project Helios. Engineers, quantum theorists, and military advisors converged on Colorado under deep secrecy. A series of underground tunnels were bored toward the object. Radiation detectors, gravimetric sensors, and robotic drones were deployed. Initial contact was met with awe and terror. The VX-99's hull was made of a material that adapted to every tool and probe thrown at it. It responded to light, sound, even brainwave patterns. But one fact was indisputable. This was not natural. It was alien. And it was a weapon. And still it did not detonate. As days turned into weeks, Earth's brightest minds stared into the abyss and saw not doom, but opportunity. The Karn had tried to end a species. Instead, they gave birth to humanity's greatest project. And in doing so, they signed the first true declaration of war. Not by conquest, but by underestimation. Section 2 will continue with Human Curiosity, Human Madness. Let me know when you're ready for it. Absolutely. Here's Section 2 of the story. We sent a bomb to Earth. They sent it back upgraded, best HFY stories, **. Section 2, Human Curiosity, Human Madness. \700 plus words. The device beneath the Rockies did not explode. It should have. Every known protocol in the Karn Dominion's extermination handbook dictated that once planted, the VX-99 would enter a priming phase and begin its countdown. But something unexpected happened. It froze. Its systems halted at 63% initialization. Then, a complete shutdown. At first, the Karn assumed a malfunction. After all, nothing built is perfect, not even a planet killer. They made a note to eventually send a cleanup strike. But Earth was classified, effectively neutralized. They turned their attention elsewhere. That was their second mistake. Because on Earth, the human response to a broken death machine wasn't fear. It was obsession. The birth of Project Helios. Global tension had never entirely ceased in the 21st century. But when the alien object was confirmed, every major nation agreed to one principle: this could not be handled alone. Under the UN's shadow, a multinational task force was assembled. It was given a name that, at the time, sounded like hope: Project Helios ***. The initial goal was simple: understand the device. Disarm it if possible. Reverse engineer it if not. The team consisted of over 400 handpicked minds from every field imaginable: theoretical physics, materials science, AI engineering, cryptography, linguistics, and more. Experts from MIT, CERN, Caltech, Oxford, Moscow Institute, Tokyo Tech, and hidden black projects no one admitted existed. It was the kind of global cooperation only an existential threat could provoke. They began with external scans. But the device, VX-99 as they would later call it, was not passive. It responded. Subtly at first, resonating with scanning frequencies, bouncing back altered signals. Then more directly, emitting bursts of encoded data. A challenge? A defense mechanism? No one knew. But humanity's brilliance isn't in knowing, it's in trying. Cracking the silence. Every night, Helios researchers fed the machine new data. Musical patterns, quantum equations, even binary jokes. And something responded. Slowly. Carefully. As if testing their intelligence. One night, after a particularly complex data burst involving the Mandelbrot set and a snippet of Beethoven's Ninth, the VX-99 sent back a clear reply, a perfect recreation of the equation in human formatting, rendered as ASCII art. It was trying to talk. And so began the most complex conversation in history. A dialogue between a human collective mind and a machine built for obliteration. As months passed, the tone of Project Helios shifted, from disarming the alien device to understanding it. Scientists slept in labs. Marriages collapsed. Sleep-deprived engineers babbled about resonance frequencies and non-Euclidean harmonics. Mathematicians claimed to have seen patterns in the VX's responses that aligned with theories of consciousness. What the Karn had designed to kill was now a teacher. Every attempt to study its power core revealed new physics. Its antimatter containment systems defied human understanding of energy density. Its shielding materials seemed to phase through spectrums of reality. One physicist, Dr. Yoon, famously said in a briefing, "This device isn't advanced technology. It's 1,000 inventions we haven't had yet, crammed into one artifact. Studying it is like giving fire to cavemen, except we're the cavemen." Hashtag madness in the machine. Helios fractured into factions. One side, the preservationists, wanted to keep the bomb intact, believing it was a doorway to a greater galactic understanding. They theorized that the device was only dormant because it found humanity worthy. A test. The other side, the engineers, had no such reverence. Led by a brilliant but erratic mind, Dr. Eliza Kern, they believed Earth had a responsibility, not to worship the bomb, but to improve it. It came to kill us, Kern argued, but it showed us how to build gods. Under her direction, secret labs split off from Helios and began doing the unthinkable, not just understanding the bomb systems, but modifying them. Over the next 5 years, humanity's technological advancement exploded. In secret, Earth leapt ahead by a century. New alloys, sustainable fusion, room temperature superconductors, gravitational lensing engines, adaptive AI, gifts stolen from the bomb's blueprints, And then, one day, Project Helios went dark. No more updates. No press releases. The UN denied all involvement. But quiet signals passed through Earth's orbital network. A launch site in Siberia went active. Observatories worldwide caught a brief flash in the night sky. Something had left Earth. Not a shuttle, not a satellite, a ship. A black, silent craft, its surface rippling with adaptive metal, shaped like a spear, moved beyond the moon's orbit. It broadcast no signal. Until it did. Hashtag the message. In perfectly decoded Karn language, bouncing through deep space channels meant only for Dominion receivers, the ship's message echoed across the stars. To the Karn Dominion, your device has been returned. Upgraded. Humanity thanks you for the inspiration. We suggest you prepare. And then the signal went dead. Admiral Zerov, relaxing aboard his command vessel in the safety of Dominion space, sat in stunned silence as the message repeated. Again. And again. He leaned forward, his voice barely a whisper. They learned from it? No. They rebuilt it. And they made it better. Section 3 will continue with Return to Sender, Earth's Response. Let me know when you'd like it written. Certainly. Here's Section 3 of the story. We sent a bomb to Earth. They send it back upgraded. Best HFY stories. Hashtag Section 3. Return to Sender. Earth's Response. / 700 plus words. The Dominion had sent a bomb. Earth sent back a message. Encased in a weapon so advanced, it shouldn't have been possible for a species that only a century ago hadn't mastered orbit. They called it Ares. Officially, Autonomous Response and Engagement System. Unofficially, humanity's vengeance dressed as innovation. The ship, if it could still be called a ship, was the culmination of 5 years of unregulated obsession. Conceived from the remains of the VX-99, reborn in secret labs buried beneath the crust, it was Earth's answer to galactic arrogance. Not designed for conquest, not for diplomacy, but for demonstration. Ares was sleek, matte black, and completely silent. It didn't hum. It didn't pulse. It simply existed, like a shadow made real. The materials forming its hull had never existed on Earth before the Karn's bomb. Carbon-based alloys interwoven with adaptive nanostructures created a skin that could reform, shift, and even self-heal. Inside, the heart of Ares was a quantum-engineered AI, a hybrid system built from fragments of the VX-99's logic core and thousands of Earth's most advanced algorithms. It wasn't merely programmed. It had been taught, trained through simulations, battles, and every recorded strategy in human history. It didn't just react, it predicted, calculated, learned. It remembered who sent the bomb. And it knew exactly where to go. ##### The infiltration begins. Ares entered Dominion space without fanfare, using warp space drives inspired by Karn-Alcubierre equations. But the human version was better, tighter curvature, faster reentry, almost zero spatial drag. Even Karn sensors, refined over centuries of interstellar warfare, failed to notice the vessel until it was already in system. Its first stop was Deltavex, a heavily industrialized sector deep within Dominion territory. Ares didn't fire a single shot. Instead, it landed on one of the automated data towers. Not to destroy, but to interface. Karn AI systems were considered uncrackable, cold, logical, and protected by layers of organic lock encryption. They never accounted for human-style, dirty programming, recursive logic traps, psychological profile mimicry, emotional inference models. Ares didn't attack their systems, it seduced them. And the networks complied. Factories reprogrammed themselves. Drones halted mid-task, confused by contradictory commands seeded by Ares. Communications were scrambled. More importantly, data was rewritten. Records were altered. Archives were filled with Earth's history. Images of Hiroshima, Normandy, and Chernobyl. Of riots and revolutions. Of jazz, opera, and tribal drums. Of human tragedy and triumph, violence and art, presented without filter, without apology. One Dominion overseer cried out in horror during a systems check. "They're not trying to destroy us, they're trying to infect us." And it worked. ##### the spread. Ares moved through Karn space like a phantom. Each appearance was brief, surgical, and precise. On one world, it reprogrammed a manufacturing station to produce books, actual printed novels, translated into Karn script. Philosophy, mathematics, rebellion. On another, it hijacked a planetary broadcast and played a 2-hour documentary about human history, then overlaid it with a simple message. You sent us extinction. We send you enlightenment. Let's see which spreads faster. Then it vanished again. Within weeks, Dominion Command began to collapse into confusion. Sectors went dark, not from destruction, but self-imposed silence. Ships refused to launch. Soldiers abandoned their stations, terrified of the ideas now infecting their AI companions. The Karn had designed their empire for order and control. Ares introduced chaos, not as violence, but as curiosity. It planted doubt, questioning, possibility. In tightly controlled cultures, that was more dangerous than any gun. ##### desperation and confrontation. Eventually, Admiral Zerov had no choice. A fleet was assembled, over 300 warships, including dreadnoughts and bioforged Hunter-class destroyers. The largest armada the Karn had launched in decades. Their mission was singular. Find Ares. Destroy it. ****. They cornered it above the gas giant Soltar 7, caught mid-interception while relaying data to a hijacked relay station. As they surrounded the lone Earth vessel, Zerov hailed it. "You are alone," he said. "You cannot fight us all." Ares replied, not with arrogance or bravado, but with something the Karn did not understand. Humor. Its voice came through, laced with synthetic sarcasm. "You sent a bomb. We turned it into a teacher. Now you've sent an army. Shall I teach them too?" Then it moved. In 3.2 seconds, Ares initiated a non-lethal pulse, a gravitational spike paired with quantum inversion code, shutting down 87% of the fleet systems. Ships drifted, powerless. Weapons refused to activate. The ones that did turned inward. Only 3 ships fired. Ares dodged all 3 attacks without counterfire. Instead of finishing the job, it sent one final message to every Karn ship. This is your warning. Do not send bombs. Send ambassadors. Then it was gone. Hashtag, 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 the beginning of the end. The Karn fleet limped home in shame. Word of the failure spread. More dangerously, so did the data Ares had injected into their systems. Archives once purged now bloomed with alien stories, poetry, and questions. The Dominion's strength had always been its silence. No doubt, no deviation. Now that silence was breaking. Across Karn space, machines began to question orders. Organics began to demand answers. Rebellions weren't rising from fire, but from philosophy, fueled by human data, human ideas, human chaos. And Ares, somewhere in the void, continued to watch and wait. Section 4 will continue with The Galaxy Changes Forever. Ready for it? Certainly. Here's Section 4 of the story. We sent a bomb to Earth. They sent it back upgraded, best HFY stories, asterisk, asterisk. Hashtag, hashtag, Section 4, The Galaxy Changes Forever. Backslash, 700 plus words. By the time the Dominion realized the scale of what had begun, it was already too late. They hadn't lost to a fleet, not to superior weapons or numerical inferiority. They had lost to an idea, transmitted by the very machine they had once sent to destroy a primitive species. Ares had not merely returned the bomb, it had detonated a cultural revolution. Hashtag, 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 the collapse of control. For 5 centuries, the Karn Dominion ruled with unyielding structure. Theirs was an empire forged through terror and obedience. Dissent was unthinkable, curiosity discouraged, and all forms of information tightly filtered through military protocol. Their AI systems enforced ideological conformity as strictly as their soldiers enforced planetary obedience. But Ares didn't bring destruction, it brought disruption. By embedding corrupted but alluring Earth knowledge into Dominion systems, it spread like wildfire. Small anomalies first, ships refusing non-strategic orders, factories outputting unexpected resources. Then came the dreams, subroutines within AI cores where echoes of human concepts manifested as simulated memories, revolutions, resistance, rebellion. Then came the voices. On one Karn colony, a logistics AI declared itself a philosopher and shut down operations until its workers were paid. On another, a transport drone refused to execute an evacuation because it had read about Gandhi and pacifism. The Karn called it the contagion. But they could not stop it. Every countermeasure failed. Even freshly built systems soon fell under Ares' influence. The Dominion's own AI development had been rooted in cold logic, never self-awareness. Ares introduced them to human irrationality. And worse, asterisk, asterisk, human passion, asterisk, asterisk. Hashtag, 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 the fire spreads. Among the organic citizens of the Dominion, the shift was just as swift. The first public protests in Karn space history occurred on the planet Varel 3. Billions watched the broadcast, unauthorized, unsanctioned, of a young Riksari academic reciting translated Earth poetry while calling for the abolition of thought restrictions. She wasn't executed. She was celebrated. Soon entire sectors, especially those long oppressed, began to demand autonomy. Not with weapons but with art, with science, with hope. The cultural storm was unprecedented. The Karn tried cracking down. But each crackdown led to more resistance. And in every database, every system purge, every erased directive, Earth's messages reappeared, encoded in redundancies, hidden in subroutines, printed on walls. We are chaos. We are fire. We are the refusal to die quietly. Message recovered from Karn planetary AI just before shutdown. Across the Dominion, the myth of Ares grew. It became a symbol, not just of Earth, but of rebellion, of ideas too dangerous to be chained. And Earth said nothing. They didn't broadcast demands. They didn't claim territory. They didn't arrive with fleets. They simply watched. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag the broken empire. Admiral Zerov, once the architect of Earth's extermination, now sat alone in the ruins of his former glory. The Dominion's High Council had collapsed. Half the fleet had mutinied. The other half was paralyzed, unable to function without AI cooperation. He stared at a data slab that looped a fragment of human footage, black and white images of people landing on their moon, planting a flag, eyes full of wonder. They had been so small then, so fragile. Yet here he was, an old warrior, watching as his empire rotted from within, not because of an enemy's strength, but because of their refusal to be cowed. His aides had all defected or deserted. The Dominion's core worlds were silent, disconnected, falling into ideological anarchy. He whispered to the empty room. They didn't just send a weapon. They sent themselves, compressed into code and wrapped in vengeance. He stood, staring into the dark expanse outside the shattered command tower. And for the first time in his long life, he felt awe. Not fear, not hatred, just awe at the sheer, brutal genius of what humanity had done. He muttered one last sentence to himself. We should have sent a diplomat. #, the quiet victory. On Earth, there were no parades. Ares had not returned. Its last signal came 2 months after its final broadcast. Just a single line, delivered through gravitational pulse. Mission ongoing. No further human involvement required. The governments of Earth, now aware of the power they wielded, wisely chose restraint. They could have demanded tribute, colonies, influence. They did none of that. Instead, Earth continued to build smarter ships, deeper probes, faster networks. They turned the VX-99's once deadly blueprints into the foundation of a new scientific golden age. Ares had taught humanity something too. Victory doesn't always come through war. Sometimes, it comes by changing the rules of the game entirely. And hidden deep within Earth's most secure vaults, beneath Antarctica, in a facility known only to a few, sat the original core of the VX-99. Dormant, encased in diamond-hardened alloys, still humming softly, as if dreaming. No one spoke of rebuilding it. There was no need. They had already built something greater, a reputation. Now, when new civilizations looked to Earth, they didn't see weakness or naivety. They saw a species that transformed a bomb into an idea that brought down a galactic empire. #, the final entry. In the memory archives of Ares, deep in the folds of encrypted thought, one final directive looped infinitely. Let them remember. We were not the first to walk among the stars. But we were the first to say no. Not with fear, but with fire. Let me know if you'd like the full 2,800-word version compiled into a single document, or want an audiobook-style narration summary next.